So this is the river's edge, the small campsite uh, just north of Abergavenny in Monmouthshire. It's run at the back of a pub. You can see the pub up there. We'll show you the outside in more detail later. As I say, small site, about an acre. There's 32 marked pitches here, which could get quite tight, although obviously the hard standing ones are marked out pretty well. Obviously the grass pitches over the other side less so. Reasonable facilities, usual Chem Point stuff, bin area just coming up here, and quite well kept, quite well maintained. Nice disposal point there, nice as a disposal point can be, and reasonable bin facilities. Little washing up area inside, which is rather nice, and obviously the male and female toilets, each with showers in them. Predominantly motorhomes, caravans here. So a fair few campers, I get that. It's sort of on the way to the Brecon Beacons, and nice stop if you're in a motorhome. One or two walkers come along, and there's a little area here where in the evening just hikers' tents go up, and that's all well and good. And as I say, if it was busy, it would be very busy. We are expecting it might be close to when we finish, because they are having an event here at the weekend. But at the moment, look, there's 10 units on a pitch that's marked out for 32, a site that's marked out for 32. That's not too bad. Electric barrier, which is nice and secure. So we arrived on a Sunday and the pub car park was full. And manoeuvring across here to the barrier was a little bit interesting, but nevertheless we managed it. And as I say, campsite itself is behind a pub of the same name. Serve food, serve beer. I know some of the people who watch our site like an old pint of Madry. Madry seems to be their headline beer here, all very good. So yeah, all in all, pretty decent pitch, pretty decent site. Lovely countryside all around. Obviously you've got the hills just about everywhere you look. Site itself is surrounded by trees, so some of those views aren't necessarily as great as they might be, but hey, look, you'll have seen from the walk in this morning, there's a gate out the back, walks you right down to the village, and you get all of this vista in full glory. Just out through the back gate there. The gate itself just down there, and well worth a walk out, and it does actually join onto the Brecons path, so you can get to, if you are a walker, you can get to the Brecons directly by walking from here. I nipped into Abergavenny earlier, came across this lovely little shop called Fromage. Don't be fooled by the name, more than just cheese in there, lots and lots of local produce, and cheeses and cakes and beers, all sorts of stuff. Anyway, I love for food, so came back with these little packages. I'll unwrap them in a minute and see what they look like. Okay, so what we've got here then is this little beauty, which is cheddar with pork. And this one here is soaked in cider for 2 days, we were told. And then also in the box, we've got a pear and ginger slice and a white chocolate cheesecake slice. So serve that up with some crackers and a bit of apricot and some nuts, and I think we'll call that lunch. Right guys, today we thought we'd show you all things water on the caravan. There's a couple of areas concerning the waste that we'll come to in a moment, but let's start with the fresh water. The fresh water is contained in this barrel here. It's about 50 litres and that will last us about 2 days. Obviously you see the blue pump coming up there, the blue pipes for the pump. Feeds into the caravan, electric pump brings it through to the taps. Anyway, we're going to need to fill this up today, so let's look at firstly how we get the water into the barrel. Some people use a hose, some people just park it underneath the tap and hope that most of it falls in. I've come up with this little bit of kit, which is basically a piece of waste pipe, bought down Screwfix, Wicks, anywhere like that. It's cut off to about 75 centimetres with a 45-degree angle at the end, at the bottom end there. And at the top, just drilled a couple of holes through there, put a bit of paracord through, and a cord lock. All stuff you can get quite easily online. And I'll show you how we use this in a minute, but a very useful piece of kit. Okay, to get the barrel across to the water point, we're going to need to take the pump out. Fairly obvious. Don't let the pump dangle on the ground. It doesn't do it any good, and it obviously gets bacteria and stuff into the tank, which you don't want. So it does just hook up onto the underside there. This is a whale pump unit, and it just clips up to keep it neatly out of the way. Okay, need to put the cap back on the barrel, obviously, like that, and then we turn it onto its side, so it's going to roll in a moment. And then we've got the handle there. Now you'll have seen these all over campsites, everywhere you go, quite easy. Fix it on both sides of your barrel, and there we have it rolling along. Okay guys, we'll see you over at the tap in a moment and show you how we fill this with water. Okay, so here we are over at the tap. I always put the barrel on its side and take the side cap off. You can hold it in place with your foot on the handle. Pop in my waste pipe there. Hook the cord up, and let's just turn the tap on and wait. And there we have it, one full tank. Release the pipe, pop your lid back on, and away we go. Okay, back at the caravan, we're just going to wheel the barrel up to the side of the caravan. Going to release the handle. Going to release the handle off of it. Turn ourselves upright. Lid off. Pump back in. Little dust cover over the top. And there you go. That'll be good for another couple of days now. So obviously what goes in must come out as well. And the water comes out really in two places. So here we've got a roll-along water container that the grey water, so that's the water from the sinks, empties into. The container is about 40 litres. We find it lasts 3 or 4 days, 2 of us in the caravan. We'll need emptying, and we'll show you how we do that in a moment. The other water, the less nice water, is what's called the brown, for reasonably obvious reasons. And that sits in this container here. This about 17 litres and fills up in about 2 or 3 days. We tend not to use site toilets, so 2 or 3 days, 2 people in the caravan. And again, that's going to need emptying, and we'll show you that in a moment. So the container pulls out the caravan like that. And it's a little bit heavy because it's the weight of the container and obviously the weight of the fluid in it, so it's about 20-25 kilos. And then the wastewater we pulled out, and that then is on its own little trolley, so we can roll that over to the waste place as well. So we're off with these to the disposal points. We'll see you over there in a little while. Okay, so here we are over at the waste disposal point, and for the grey water it often is just like a grate like you've got there. Now you see the container has a whole load of different blue lids on it. The water goes in on this one here, comes out at the bottom here, so you'll lift up the whole container and it'll pour out the bottom. The important thing to remember though is that one at the top, because you need to release that, otherwise you'll form a vacuum and nothing will come out the bottom. So let's get on with it. And there you have it, that's one empty grey water container, and that's a whole lot lighter and will be a whole lot easier to wheel back to the caravan than it was to get here. Now if we move on to the brown waste, I always put a pair of gloves on, seems to make sense, you're handling nasty stuff here. Containers are all different, but they will have some kind of spout on the top which you release, and obviously that's where the fluid comes out. But again, there's a button there that you press down to release the vacuum, otherwise again nothing will flow out. So we're just going to hold it, press the button on the top, and out everything comes. There'll always be a tap close by with a hose on it. Put a couple of litres of water back in. Then again, give it a bit of a shake to get the last of everything out and pour that away. And finally, a couple of litres of water back in. So you've got some fluid on the bottom of the container before you start using it. And being nice to the site owner, obviously always rinse out the disposal point once you finish with it. Hang the tap back up and shut the lid down. So we're back at the caravan. We've just put the grey water container back underneath, and we're just going to finish off with the brown water container. So we're going to take that yellow cap back off, and we're going to put some Elsan fluid, or blue fluid. Elsan is a brand. We've got a bottle of Elsan there. I don't normally buy Elsan. When we got this, it's because I couldn't get anything else. But there are plenty of other brands, cheaper ones as well. They all do the same job. But we'll use this one because it's open. Take the lid off. It's a kid-proof lid because it's quite nasty chemicals in there. You're going to take your lid out, and it's got a little measurer on it. Fill that up to the top. Pour it down the spout and turn it back on. Hold your spout away and just give it a good shake just to mix it with the water that we put in there earlier. and then back in the caravan, shut the door. Good for 2 days there now. And the very last thing we're going to do, just to finish this little job off, is above the waste tank hatch is another little hatch here on our caravan. Not all have them. Some will take water for the flush off of the main water tank. Ours doesn't. So you open that up, and this is the water that flushes the waste down the pan as it would at home coming out of the system. Very, very simple, and you don't actually need much water in there. It doesn't use much. A litre or two. Pour some fresh water down there, just to top up the tank. We find if you overfill it, it tends to spill out onto the top of the bathroom, into the bathroom floor. That might well be because there's a perished fitting somewhere, or a perished gasket or something. And just on top of that, there's the top tank fluid. Now, we have mixed views about this, because it doesn't matter which brand you buy, it tends to congeal in the tank, and eventually you'll get little black streaks coming out of the flush. But we do think it keeps the smell nice and fresh in the toilet and hides some of those nasty spells. So we do just put a little glug in each time. But then what we tend to do, and I'll show you later in the season when we're closing the caravan up for the winter, we will just run this flush through with some Milton in it to get all that congealed muck out and make it fresh for the start of next season. We've been at the riverside, just outside Abergavenny in Monmouthshire. It's a site that's got a lot going for it. It's behind a good pub that serves good food and good beer. The site itself is tree lined, pretty green, and some good views, and there's even more views if you go out through the back gate and along the river walk. Possibly the pitches are a little on the small side. Each does have a 2-metre break, which is good, but the pitch size itself is only 6 metres across, which for modern camping is probably a little bit on the small side. The owners manage this and they put some rules in place, and I would suggest that if you're going to book here, that you look up those rules and make sure you're happy with them first. Overall, I would suggest that this is a campsite maybe for a weekend away, not a full week's holiday. Abergavenny itself is a really nice little town. It's got some really niche and artisan shops of note. There's Madame Fromage and the Angel Bakery. They also put on some pretty good markets of various different kinds across the week in the Victorian Hall. Well worth a visit. There's plenty of walks around the town centre itself. It's on the banks of the river, and some really nice meadow walks, and the architecture through the town is really, really very pleasant. Overall, I'd recommend Abergavenny, and I'd recommend the River's Edge, but as I say, do check if you're happy with the booking before you go there. You've been watching Just Another Caravan vlog. This isn't just another caravan thing, this is our thing. And if it's your thing too, then please like, subscribe, comment and share, and we'll see you next time.